All right, guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be going over an article which I've nicknamed the video "An Economist Humbles a Gold Digger." And what you're going to see in this article is this is about a woman who's 25 years old and she's looking for a rich guy. She's from New York City and she posts on Craigslist basically an advertisement looking for rich guys, but also asking advice from other women that have gotten rich guys, where to find them, and so forth. And then what's really funny about this article is then you have a guy who claims at least to be an economist respond to her post, and what he says is absolutely hilarious, really humbling her about, in terms of from the point of an economist, in terms of value and so forth. And he really gets into about how a woman's value in terms of the looks department declines after a certain age. And he makes a whole economic comparison to her, and it's really funny to listen to. And by the way, guys, this article was sent to me by subscriber Mark. So if you guys have any good articles that you find that you'd like me to do a video about, just email me strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com, and I also have that link in the about the channel section. And let me know these articles, and if they're good, they work out well, I'll definitely do a video on it. So without further ado, the title of the article is "The Economics of Gold Digging." Starts off saying, "The following story is currently making the rounds on the internet. The event probably didn't happen exactly as described, but for my purposes, it doesn't really matter. Supposedly, a woman posts the following personal ad on Craigslist." And this is from the perspective of the woman, what she says here. "What am I doing wrong? Okay, I'm tired of beating around the bush. I'm a beautiful, spectacular, beautiful 25-year-old girl." And she actually has this in parentheses. "I'm articulate and classy. I'm not from New York. I'm looking to get married to a guy who makes at least $500,000 a year. I know how that sounds, but keep in mind that $1 million a year is middle class in New York City. So I don't think I'm overreaching at all." And by the way, guys, this article is actually from 2007. And the reason I chose it is that even though it's that old, 13 years old, human nature is human nature. It does not change. Male nature doesn't change. Female nature doesn't change. So even though it's 13 years old, I thought it'd be a good one to do, and definitely entertaining. And you're going to find this very entertaining as I go on. But obviously, in terms of numbers, what she's saying here is that in her mind, $1 million a year is middle class in New York. That's from the perspective of being 2007. And any of you guys are watching right now, if you're from New York City and lived there in 2007, let me know about these numbers, because I'd really like to hear what your perspective is in terms of how much some of this money, how far it goes. She goes on to say, "Are there any guys who make $500K or more on this board? Any wives? Can you send me some tips? I dated a businessman who makes around 200 to 250K, but that's where I seem to hit a roadblock. 250K won't get me to Central Park West. I know a woman in my yoga class who's married to an investment banker and lives in Tribeca, and she's not as pretty as I am, nor is she a great genius. So what is she doing right? How do I get to her level?" So not only is she obviously gold digging here, but you can see she's not exactly a nice person. She thinks very highly of herself, and now she's knocking the other women. This is real nice to have. And so, by the way, what she just said, guys, again, if you're from New York City or you lived in New York City around 2007, let me know how far 200 to 250 grand a year went. I'm just curious. And then at that point, how much 500K, because that's what she said she's looking for, how far does that go in New York City in 2007? She goes on to ask a few questions. She says, "Here are my questions specifically. Where do you single rich men hang out? Give me specifics. Bars, restaurants, gyms? What are you looking for in a mate? Be honest, guys. You won't hurt my feelings." I don't think anybody can hurt this girl's feelings because she doesn't care about anybody else. "Is there an age range I should be targeting?" And she says, "I'm 25. Why are some of the women living lavish lifestyles on the Upper East Side so plain? I've seen really plain Jane, boring types who have nothing to offer married to incredibly wealthy guys. I've seen drop dead gorgeous girls in singles bars in the East Village. What's the story there? So again, you see how she is? See how nice she is? Jobs I should look out for. Everybody knows lawyer, investment banker, doctor. How much do these guys really make? And where do they hang out? Where do the hedge fund guys hang out? How you decide marriage versus just a girlfriend. I'm looking for, and she says in giant letters, marriage only. So guys, and by the way, I'm doing this video because a lot of you guys watch me make good money, and some of you I'm sure make really good money. As if you haven't experienced this before, or if you're a young guy and you are on the path to be having a career that makes you a lot of money, be aware that these type of women are out there and they're going to be looking. And you can see here, I guarantee you that when she meets a guy, I bet you she puts on the full charm. I bet they think she is sweet as can be. But you can see here the way she talks about herself and other women, she's not so nice. She goes on to say, please hold your insults. I'm putting myself out there in an honest way. Most beautiful women are superficial. Oh, you're not? At least I'm being upfront about it. I wouldn't be searching for these kind of guys if I wasn't able to match them in looks, culture, sophistication, and keeping a nice home and hearth. Well, I'd really like to know what she looks like. She says here she's 25, so as we all know that generally the 20s that's the prime for women, 18 through 30. And she then gets a response from the guy who is the Economist. And he says, Dear Pete Pers 431-649-184. That's obviously her handle on Craigslist. He says, I read your posting with great interest and have thought meaningfully about your dilemma. I offer the following analysis of your predicament. Firstly, I'm not wasting your time. I qualify as a guy who fits your bill. That is, I make more than $500,000 per year. That said, here's how I see it. You offer, from the perspective of a guy like me, is plain and simple a crappy business deal. Here's why. Cutting through all the BS, what you suggest is a simple trade. You bring your looks to the party, and I bring my money. Fine, simple. But here's the rub. Your looks will fade, and my money will likely continue perpetually. In fact, it is very likely that my income increases, but it's an absolute certainty that you won't be getting any more beautiful. Man, this guy really rubs it in. I mean, he's saying basically, hey, I'm going to continue to make more money. I'm going to continue to increase in value, but as you age, your value is going to decline. Because the reality is, and some people watching this may not like hearing it, a woman's prime generally is 18 through 30, and afterwards it's a decline. That's just how it is. However, what's considered a man's value, his market value, typically really begins at 30 and goes on 30s, 40s, and in some cases 50s. Because for us, what is valuable to men is looks, body type, things like that. That's the driving force. And anybody that says otherwise is full of crap. But for women, guys, it's about our earning potential, what money we have, status, game, charm, personality. All these things typically with guys get better as they get older. And so you're not going to have guys, unless maybe they come from money or they started their own businesses early on, or that generally doesn't happen for guys until they hit their 30s. That's just how it is usually. So that's why you have a lot of women in their 20s. They don't have anything to do with many guys in their 20s. They're ideally the ones that can pull it off, looking for guys that are older and have these resources and so forth. He goes on to say, so in economic terms, you are a depreciating asset, and I am an earning asset. Not only are you a depreciating asset, your depreciation accelerates. Let me explain. You're 25 now and will likely stay pretty hot for the next 5 years, but less so each year. Then the fade begins in earnest. By 35, stick a fork in you. This guy's harsh. So in Wall Street terms, we would call you a trading position, not a buy and hold. Hence the rub, marriage. It doesn't make good business sense to buy you, which is what you're asking for, so I'd rather lease. In case you think I'm being cruel, I would say the following. If my money were to go away, so would you. So when your beauty fades, I need an out. It is simple as that. So a deal that makes sense is dating, not marriage. This guy isn't dumb. He knows. He knows darn well that for this woman or any woman like that that's really this type, if he were to lose his money, she'd be out of there. And it's likely that eventually, once the marriage is official, she could potentially be out of there later on anyway. Unfortunately, a lot of guys that make good money and so forth, they don't know this. And they hope that some of these women are different, but it's not the case. Does that mean that every single woman that meets a guy that's successful and makes good money is like this? No, it does not. But a lot are out there. Separately, I was taught early in my career about efficient markets. So I wonder why a girl as articulate, classy, and spectacularly beautiful as you have been unable to find your sugar daddy. I find it hard to believe, if you are as gorgeous as you say you are, that the 500K hasn't found you. If not only for a tryout. By the way, you could always find a way to make your own money, and then we wouldn't need to have this difficult conversation. With all that is said, I must say you're going about it the right way. Classic pump and dump. I hope this is helpful, and if you want to enter into some sort of lease, let me know. And this goes on from the person writing the article. He says, I have to say that the respondent has some pretty sensible economics in his answer. My guess, however, is that with that mindset, he probably doesn't have any more success with ladies than the gold-digging woman does with the men. Just as politics often trumps economics when it comes to public policy, rational arguments rarely win the day in dating, love, and marriage. I wouldn't expect male economists to marry very well. Firstly, they tend to think like the guy who wrote this letter. Secondly, they tend to be nerds. Well, just because a guy could be, classified as a nerd or anything like that, if he makes really good money like this guy is talking about in the article, they're going to have women. Trust me, they're going to have women. The woman certainly may not be in love with him, but they can get them with that kind of money and the things they can provide and buy. So I disagree with the writer of this article there. He goes on saying, thirdly, they make very little money when they are young because they get so much education, even though their lifetime income is quite high. Well, obviously when they're young and in school, they're not going to have these type of women or have that kind of interest. But later on in life, when they are making that kind of good money, if they're working for a Wall Street firm, then they're going to attract the women. And it doesn't make a difference if they're older, because we all know young women like older men for obviously lots of reasons. So this guy's missing the point here. It doesn't make a difference if the guy, let's just say the guy that was responding to this woman who's 25 is 40 or even 45. Believe me, based on what she's looking for, she would rope this guy in, but he obviously is smart enough and been around the block. Yet I think it's fair to say that the economists I know have married stunningly well, myself included. We've all been puzzling over this fact for the 15 years I have been in the profession. As of yet, no one has come up with a good explanation. I doubt it could be perfect foresight on the part of the women we marry. He goes on to say, also, completely contrary to what an economic model might predict, I can't think of any economist who left his wife in middle age for a younger trophy wife. There must be cases, but none that spring to mind. Well, I guarantee you, if you had a certain situation where you have a guy that makes a lot of money, whether it's an economist or an investment banker, an extremely successful doctor or lawyer, if he understands truly that he's very marketable and he has game, he could leave or end the marriage for somebody younger. That happens all the time. So it doesn't mean that, like this writer is saying, it can't happen. Just because he wouldn't do it or some of his colleagues doesn't mean that it can't be done. He ends the article saying, so maybe economists aren't such heartless, conniving people after all. Or maybe economists just care so little about human relationship that it's not worth the trouble to try to acquire a trophy wife. Well, who knows? But at the end of the day, obviously there are plenty of guys that don't have anything to do with women. There's a lot that follow me on this channel, but there are a lot do. And even the most, let's just say, the biggest loner types, the guys that are introverts, they still have human needs, and they still would like to have a young, pretty woman to have fun with, whether it be simply dating or actually to marry. But they'd be out of their minds to marry because for lots and lots of reasons we talk about all the time, but also in terms of this article, in terms of gold diggers. So for you guys that are doing well for yourselves, or you guys that are in school and you're pursuing a career that can make you a lot of money, I want you guys just to be aware that this type of thing can happen. There are women out there, and I'm being fair here, that solely will be interested in you just for your money. They don't care about you or your family or anything like that. They want the money. They want that comfort, the lifestyle that can provide. So just be aware of that as you go on. Learn more about female nature, educate yourself, and that way you can see this coming a mile away. And like I said, it doesn't mean that every single woman is like that, but there are a lot. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you guys have any of you guys with money or that are quite successful, if you've experienced anything like this. And also be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time.